America offered a car with no side doors. These 10 oddballs exposed Detroit's wildest thinking. Which failure predicted the future? The weirdness rules. This is not a list of harmless concept cars that never left a turntable. Every vehicle here was offered for sale, built in a genuine production run, or pushed close enough to production that customers could place money on the idea. Some were brilliant, some were commercial disasters. Several were both, which is usually where the interesting history lives. The ranking is not based only on ugliness. That would be unfair and far too easy. It considers engineering, packaging, rarity, the problem each car tried to solve, and the size of the question mark that appears above your head when you first see one. The strongest oddball sits in the middle, where it can cause maximum damage. The final car has 3 wheels, 4 seats across, and a business story that ends in court. Number 10. The Lincoln Blackwood. Luxury truck trap. Lincoln entered the luxury pickup market in 2002 with a truck that was terrified of truck work. The Blackwood borrowed its cab and basic structure from the Ford F-150 Super Crew, added navigator styling and luxury equipment, then replaced the useful pickup bed with something closer to a giant designer trunk. The cargo box measured only 4 feet 8 inches long. It had stainless steel inner panels, carpeting, storage compartments, lighting, and a power-operated solid cover that could not be removed. At the rear, 2 doors swung sideways instead of a normal tailgate. Lincoln offered the Blackwood only in black. It seated 4 people, came only with rear-wheel drive, and used Ford's 5.4-liter V8 with an automatic transmission. 4-wheel drive was not available. A luxury pickup with no 4-wheel drive and a carpeted bed is the automotive equivalent of a hiking boot made from white suede. It may be expensive, it may be handsome. Please do not introduce it to mud. The idea did contain logic. Luxury SUV sales were booming. Wealthy buyers liked the high seating position and truck image, but many used their vehicles as comfortable daily transportation. Lincoln believed those customers might want a pickup shape without the dirt, noise, and exposed cargo associated with an actual pickup. The finished Blackwood was quiet, richly equipped, and visually distinctive. Heated and ventilated seats, adjustable pedals, traction control, 4-wheel disc brakes, and available navigation made it a serious luxury vehicle for the period. The problem was the word pickup. Customers expected a pickup bed to carry motorcycles, mulch, furniture, tools, or at least one object capable of damaging carpet. The Blackwood's fixed cover limited height, the bed was short, and the polished interior punished anybody who treated it normally. Lincoln reportedly expected 18,000 sales across the 2002 and 2003 model years. Production stopped at only 3,356. The honest verdict is that the Blackwood did not fail because luxury trucks were a bad idea. Modern premium pickups proved the opposite. It failed because Lincoln removed the utility customers still wanted. The Blackwood predicted the luxury truck boom, then arrived wearing gloves and refused to touch anything. Number 9. The Studebaker Wagonaire. The roof slides open. Studebaker looked at the station wagon and found one obvious weakness. The roof was always in the way. For 1963, designer Brooks Stevens created the Wagonaire, a wagon with a rear roof panel that slid forward along tracks. Open it, lower the tailgate, and tall cargo could stand upright through the roof. A refrigerator, potted tree, ladder, or awkward piece of furniture could ride where a normal wagon required ropes, roof racks, or a friend with a pickup. The idea was simple enough to explain at a dealership and strange enough to stop traffic. The Wagonaire used Studebaker's Lark-based body, rear-wheel drive, and conventional engines. Buyers could order 6-cylinder power or a V8. Sportier Daytona versions could receive serious equipment including front disc brakes and stronger V8 options. This was not a fragile exhibition car. It was a practical family wagon from an established American manufacturer. Only the rear portion of the roof behaved like a kitchen drawer. The sliding panel created an enormous opening over the cargo area. Studebaker advertisements showed the wagon carrying tall appliances and outdoor equipment. In theory, the Wagonaire combined a wagon's enclosed comfort with a pickup's vertical space. In practice, a moving roof creates tracks, drains, weather stripping, and alignment points. Those parts need care. Worn seals or blocked drains could allow water inside, and body movement did not improve the challenge. Studebaker later offered a fixed roof version for buyers whose preferred cargo was dryness. years. The Wagonaire survived from 1963 through 1966, including the company's final Canadian production period. Sales were never large enough to save Studebaker, but the concept refused to disappear. General Motors later used a similar idea on the GMC Envoy XUV, whose rear roof section also opened for tall cargo. That modern revival failed too. Apparently, customers like the idea of a convertible cargo area right until the weather becomes involved. The Wagoner deserves more respect than a novelty. It solved a real packaging problem without making the whole vehicle enormous. Its mistake was asking one roof panel to behave as body structure, weather protection, and moving furniture hardware. Brilliant idea. Difficult marriage. Number 8. The Powell Sport Wagon. Built from junkyards. The Powell brothers did not build their vehicle from cheap new parts. They started with old cars from salvage yards. From 1955 through 1957, Powell Motor Company in Compton, California, collected frames, engines, transmissions, and axles from 1940 and 1941 Plymouths. The components were rebuilt, cleaned, and fitted beneath new utility bodies. That sounds like a television recycling challenge. Powell turned it into a business model. The brothers wanted an affordable vehicle for sportsmen, ranchers, fishermen, and people who needed truck utility with passenger car manners. The result came as a pickup and later a station wagon. The new body used simple stamped steel panels with almost no expensive compound curves. A local boat builder produced the fiberglass front clip. Early bumpers and tailgates were made from oak before Powell switched to steel. Side windows slid horizontally because normal regulators cost money, and apparently luxury had already been exhausted by the presence of glass. Then came the feature that made the Powell unforgettable. An optional long storage drawer slid from inside the rear body panel. It could hold fishing rods, hunting equipment, or other long, narrow items without placing them inside the cabin or exposed in the bed. Modern pickup manufacturers now sell elaborate bedside compartments and lockable storage systems. Powell had already hidden the fishing rods in 1955 using a drawer and the confidence of a man who owned one tape measure. Prices started around $1,095 for the standard pickup. The station wagon joined the line in 1956. Powell built nearly 1,000 pickups and more than 150 wagons. Most remained in the western United States. The company's problem was wonderfully specific. It did not collapse because each vehicle lost money. It ran out of suitable old Plymouth components. A supply chain based on 15-year-old junkyard cars works only while the junkyards remain cooperative. Once usable frames and drivetrains became scarce, the business had nowhere to grow. The Powell Sport Wagon may have been an early crossover idea. Car-like driving, truck-like utility, compact size, and outdoor lifestyle marketing all arrived decades before parking lots filled with modern crossovers. The only difference is that Powell actually recycled the old car instead of writing sustainable on a new one. Number 7. The AMC Pacer. The wide, small car. The AMC Pacer was short like a compact and wide like a full-size sedan. That was not an accident. American Motors advertised it as the first wide small car. At just under 14.5 feet long, it fit the compact category. At more than 77 inches wide, it occupied roughly the same road space as much larger American automobiles. Designer Dick Teague pushed the passenger compartment forward and surrounded it with an enormous glass area. The windshield was broad, the side windows wrapped into the roof, and the rear hatch turned the cabin into something between a greenhouse and a goldfish bowl. The Pacer looked futuristic in 1975 because it rejected the normal long hood, short cabin proportions of Detroit cars. One detail was especially clever. The passenger side door was about 4 inches longer than the driver's door. Rear passengers could enter more easily from the curb side, where traffic was less likely to remove the door and their confidence at the same time. AMC also engineered isolated front suspension and drivetrain mounting to reduce noise. The cabin was spacious, visibility was excellent, and the wide stance gave occupants room that normal small cars lacked. The original plan expected a compact rotary engine licensed from General Motors. When GM cancelled its rotary program, AMC had to fit its conventional inline six. That engine was long and heavy. The nose grew, weight increased, and the clean, futuristic packaging lost some of its original advantage. Fuel economy was not outstanding for a small car. The huge glass area increased heat inside. The unusual styling aged quickly once the future selected a different outfit. AMC later added a wagon and even offered a 304 cubic inch V8. Nothing improves an economy car identity like installing more engine after the economy part becomes uncomfortable. The Pacer was not a complete sales catastrophe. Early demand was strong, and more than 280,000 were produced through the 1980 model year, but its reputation became cruel. Movies and television used it as shorthand for awkwardness. The car people once called futuristic became a rolling punchline. That judgment misses the engineering ambition. Cab-forward packaging, broad cabins, asymmetric doors, isolated mechanical components, and attention to visibility were thoughtful ideas. The Pacer did not fail because it was thoughtless. It failed because several smart ideas arrived inside a shape the public could never stop staring at. Number 6. The Mose Ostentation Opera Sedan. Exit with dignity. Bruce Mose believed normal car doors were dangerous, so he built a luxury sedan without any side doors. The 1967 Mose Ostentation Opera Sedan used a special International Harvester truck chassis, 20-inch truck wheels, and an International V8. It was enormous, heavy, and offered at a price beginning around $19,600, more than many prestige automobiles of the period. Passengers entered through one giant hatch at the rear. Mose said this allowed them to exit upright and with dignity. That phrase deserves respect. Nothing says dignity like walking down an illuminated aisle inside your car before leaving through the luggage department. Removing the side doors allowed Mose to install heavy structural beams along the body and roof. He believed the design would provide exceptional side impact and rollover protection. The windshield could serve as an emergency exit. The seats were designed to swivel and lean with cornering forces. Mose claimed they could move occupants toward a safer position during a crash. He also advertised large nitrogen-filled tires, strong roof construction, tilting rear lamps, extensive padding, and roughly 20 safety features. Then the luxury list became magnificent. Buyers could request oriental rugs, walnut wood, gold inlays, velvet upholstery, air horns, a refrigerator, heated water, a removable skylight, a furnace, and communications equipment. The car began as a safety project and ended somewhere between a yacht, an airport lounge, and a truck that had inherited money. Only one opera sedan was built. No customer placed an order. That makes the wording important. This was not a successful production model. It was a running prototype that Mose genuinely offered to the public, priced, demonstrated, and used as daily transportation. He reportedly drove it to collect customers from the airport. Famous passengers were said to include television and film personalities. The honest limitation is brutal. A single rear exit is not automatically safer. If the car stopped against a wall, another vehicle, or a fire, dignity might become less important than another door. The truck suspension and drum brakes also made the advanced safety claims feel selective. Yet Mose identified real concerns before side impact standards, rollover requirements, and modern safety cells became normal. The solution was wildly excessive. The question was not. And that is why the strange giant earns the middle position. It looks like nonsense until you realize several of its fears were correct. If these forgotten machines are your kind of history, subscribe. The next 5 include a road car sold for magazine ads, a sports car with doors that vanish into the fenders, and a carbon Kevlar supercar powered by Dodge parts. Number 5. The King Midget. America's mail-order car. The King Midget looked like somebody folded a roadster from sheet metal during a lunch break. That simplicity was the point. Claude Dry and Dale Orcutt founded Midget Motors in Athens, Ohio, after the Second World War. They wanted to build a tiny, affordable vehicle that ordinary people could buy directly. The earliest King Midget was offered as a kit. Buyers received the frame, axles, steering components, and patterns for body panels. The owner supplied an engine and finished the car. Later versions became complete automobiles. The Model 2 added 2 passenger seating, a simple steel body, and small single-cylinder engines. The Model 3, introduced in the late 1950s, used a larger body and a roughly 9 horsepower Wisconsin engine in common form. 9 horsepower. A modern riding mower has entered the conversation and would like everyone to remain calm. The King Midget weighed very little, used tiny wheels, and achieved usable town speeds through simplicity rather than power. Its automatic transmission system used centrifugal operation and belts, reducing the need for a conventional clutch. The cabin was open, weather protection was basic, and crash protection mostly consisted of seeing danger early. Yet the company survived for more than 2 decades, from 1946 into 1969. Several thousand King Midgets were sold, a remarkable achievement for a small independent manufacturer operating far outside Detroit. Advertising appeared in magazines. Customers ordered directly. Owners used them for commuting, local errands, and recreation. The car's greatest strength was honesty. It did not pretend to be a miniature Cadillac. It offered 4 wheels, seats, steering, brakes, and enough engine to move the package. The limitations were equally honest. Highway use was optimistic. Hills affected performance. Comfort depended on weather, road quality, and how much the driver expected from a seat that appeared to know the factory's budget. The King Midget now looks like a microcar curiosity, but it represented a serious attempt to provide cheap personal transportation before imported economy cars transformed the market. Its real failure was scale. A tiny manufacturer could not match mass production pricing, dealer networks, or the refinement of larger companies. Still, the King Midget kept its crown for more than 20 years. That is a long reign for a car that appears to have been delivered with assembly instructions and courage. Number 4. The Kaiser Darren. Doors into fenders. Howard Dutch Darren disliked ordinary doors. His solution was elegant, expensive, and wonderfully unnecessary. On the 1954 Kaiser Darren, each door slid forward into the front fender instead of swinging outward. Open the door and it disappeared inside the body. The mechanism solved a real sports car problem. A conventional long door can be difficult to open in a tight parking space. The Darren required almost no room beside the car. It also looked like stage magic performed by sheet metal. The fiberglass body was low, smooth, and curving. A small grille opening at the front resembled pursed lips, giving the car a facial expression somewhere between surprise and disapproval. The convertible top had 3 positions. It could close fully, open completely, or expose only the front seat area. The Kaiser Darren reached production just before the Chevrolet Corvette, making it the first production fiberglass-bodied American sports car by a narrow margin. Power came from a 161 cubic inch Willys inline-6 with around 90 horsepower. That was the problem. The Darren looked fast enough to challenge European sports cars, but its acceleration did not support the body's confidence. The price was also high at roughly $3,655, above the new Corvette and close to established imported alternatives. Only 435 were built. Kaiser's own financial trouble made the launch worse. The company was leaving the American passenger car business. Dealer support was uncertain, and customers hesitated to buy an expensive sports car from a manufacturer packing its office. Darren later acquired unsold examples and installed more powerful engines in some, including supercharged Cadillac V8 conversions. Those cars finally delivered the performance the shape had promised. The sliding doors were clever but demanded precise alignment. Body damage around the front fenders could become a mechanical and financial puzzle. Still, the design remains beautiful. This is not an ugly car rescued by rarity. The Kaiser Darren is collectible because its strangeness was elegant. It tried to solve door clearance, weather flexibility, and fiberglass production in one low-volume sports car. The engine disappointed. The doors still steal the show. Number 3. The Consulia GTP Parts Bin Supercar. The Consulia GTP looked like a race car built from a hardware catalog nobody else could access. Warren Mosler created it in Florida during the 1980s. His priorities were low weight, structural stiffness, mid-engine balance, and racing performance. Traditional beauty was apparently on another page. The GTP used a composite monocoque with carbon fiber and Kevlar integrated into the structure. The body contained no conventional structural metal chassis. At roughly 2,200 pounds, the car was extraordinarily light. Power came from Chrysler's turbocharged 2.2-liter 4-cylinder. Early cars produced around 175 horsepower, later versions more. That sounds modest until the engine is attached to a body weighing less than many modern compact cars. The 5-speed transmission came from Chrysler performance models. Door handles, brakes, lights, and other hardware came from an impressive mixture of American and imported parts. The tail lights could be traced to General Motors wagons and El Caminos. Front brake pieces came from Dodge. Rear components came from Pontiac. The clutch hardware involved Datsun pieces. The consolier did not use the parts bin. It organized a neighborhood watch. On track, the formula worked. The low weight and rigid structure allowed the GTP to challenge heavier Corvettes, Porsches, and performance cars with far more power. Consoliers won professional races, including strong results in the early 1990s. Racing authorities later applied weight penalties, and the car's exact exclusion history remains disputed enough that dramatic claims should be handled carefully. Mosler also became famous for confidence. He promoted challenges claiming the lightweight GTP could beat established sports cars. The problem was the showroom. The styling was awkward. The interior used visible production car components. The turbo four-cylinder lacked the prestige buyers expected from an exotic car. Quality varied because production remained small and hand-built. Only around 83 GTPs are believed to have been produced, including race cars and special versions. The honest verdict is that the Consolier was not a refined supercar. It was a competition idea with license plates and enough carpeting to make a sales brochure possible. But the engineering predicted the future. Carbon composites, low mass, turbocharged small engines, mid-engine packaging, and obsessive power-to-weight ratios later became normal supercar language. The Consolier spoke it early. Unfortunately, it spoke through Dodge door handles. Number 2. The Stout Scarab, the first minivan. William Bushnell Stout designed airplanes before he designed the Scarab. That explains why the car ignored nearly every normal automobile proportion of the 1930s. The Stout Scarab placed a Ford flathead V8 at the rear. With no engine beneath a long front hood, the body could use more of its length for passengers. The exterior had integrated fenders, hidden hinges, flush glass, rear wheel skirts, and no running boards. Its rounded aluminum body attached to an aircraft-style frame and looked like an Airstream trailer had decided to stop following another vehicle. Inside, the Scarab became even stranger. Only the driver's seat was fixed. Passenger seats could turn and face one another. A folding table allowed people to eat, work, or play cards while traveling. There was cabin heating, filtered air, power door locks, and a spacious flat floor. Passengers entered through a central side door. This was not simply a weird sedan. It was a mobile room. Decades before the modern minivan, Stout had created rear-engine packaging, flexible seating, and a social interior designed around the people rather than the hood. The 85-horsepower Ford V8 and 3-speed transmission gave acceptable performance for the period. The rear engine also improved cabin space and placed the noise behind passengers. The Scarab's problem was cost. Stout announced plans for limited production of up to 100 cars, with a price around $5,000 during the Great Depression. That amount could buy several ordinary automobiles. Only 9 Scarabs were built before the Second World War. Nearly all went to wealthy investors or people close to the company. The car was also too unconventional for buyers trained to expect a long hood, separate fenders, running boards, and formal seating. Stout later created a post-war experimental version with a fiberglass body and air suspension, but it did not reach production. The Scarab failed commercially and succeeded historically. Modern minivans adopted its central argument: move the mechanical components away from passenger space, flatten the floor, make the cabin flexible, treat the vehicle as a room that moves. The difference is that modern minivans hide the revolution beneath ordinary shapes. The Scarab wore the revolution like a Beatle costume. Number 1. The Davis Divan. 3 wheels, 4 across. In 1947, used car salesman Gary Davis promised America a futuristic 3-wheeled car for less than $1,000. It would seat 4 adults across one enormous front bench. 1 wheel sat at the front, 2 sat at the rear. The aluminum body was wide, low, and shaped by aircraft ideas. Hidden headlights and a removable roof made it look far more advanced than many post-war sedans. The name divan referred to a couch. That was accurate. 4 people sat shoulder to shoulder across the cabin. The driver controlled the single front wheel through steering geometry that gave the car an extremely tight turning circle. The original inspiration came from a custom 3-wheeler built by race car designer Frank Curtis for millionaire Joel Thorne. Davis acquired the car, developed his own prototypes, and launched a massive publicity campaign. He claimed the company would produce 50 cars per day. He sold dealership franchises across the country and raised more than $1 million. Then the production cars failed to arrive. Only 13 divans, including prototypes and pre-production examples, were completed. The company also built 3 military-style three-wheel vehicles while seeking government contracts. The Davis factory occupied an aircraft hangar in Van Nuys, California. Employees worked without regular pay while promotional claims continued. Dealers and workers eventually sued. Authorities charged Davis with fraud and grand theft. He was convicted and sentenced to a labor camp. That ending can make the car sound like pure deception. The divan itself was real. It had an aluminium body, a steel chassis, hydraulic jacks built into the frame, and unusual braking and steering hardware. Surviving examples prove engineers and workers created genuine running vehicles. 12 of the 13 divans are believed to have survived, an astonishing survival rate for a failed company. The honest limitation is obvious. 3 wheels can reduce cost and turning effort, but placing one wheel at the front creates stability questions. The wide 4-across seat also placed passengers far from the center line, where body movement would feel more dramatic. The car never received the long development program needed to prove its promises. The Davis story therefore contains 2 different failures. The engineering was incomplete. The business was dishonest. Those should not be confused. A strange car can be sincere even when the man selling it is not. The weirdness payoff. These 10 cars look unrelated. A carpeted Lincoln pickup, a roof-opening Studebaker, a junkyard Powell, a glassy AMC, a doorless Mose, a mail-order microcar, a sliding door Kaiser, a carbon Kevlar Consulier, a rear-engine Scarab, and a 3-wheeled Davis. But they share one habit. Each manufacturer began with a real problem. The Blackwood tried to bring luxury buyers into pickups. The Wagonaire wanted more vertical cargo space. Powell wanted affordable utility. The Pacer wanted a spacious small car. Mose wanted crash protection. King Midget wanted cheap transportation. Kaiser wanted better sports car doors. Consulier wanted speed without weight. Stout wanted more cabin room. Davis wanted lower cost and tight maneuverability. The weirdness appeared because the designers refused the normal solution. That refusal produced both brilliance and disaster. Sometimes the market was not ready, as with the Stout Scarab. Sometimes the market understood the idea and rejected the execution, as with the Blackwood. Sometimes the supplier disappeared, as with the Pacer's planned rotary engine. Sometimes the business model depended on junkyards, as with Powell. And sometimes the car became the physical evidence in a criminal case. The deeper question is not why these cars were weird. It is why modern cars often feel less willing to be weird at all. Large manufacturers now share platforms, engines, electronics, safety systems, and global design targets. That creates reliable, efficient vehicles. It also creates parking lots where several brands appear to have attended the same design seminar and copied the notes. These 10 failures had personality because nobody had yet sanded away the argument. The Mose was absurd. The Consulier was ugly. The Pacer was awkward. The Scarab was expensive. They were also impossible to confuse with anything else. Which one belongs in a museum and which one would you actually drive? Put one name in the comments. Choosing 2 is how collections begin.